It is that time of year again where it is now time to preview the top of this draft class upcoming. Today we'll be focusing on the top of this upcoming draft class, as that is currently where both of the expansion teams are projected to have their selections. You may have seen some of the shorts I released of the top 3 prospects, the franchise-changing type of prospects that are in this class. I think it is a very good one, and I'm going to talk to you about each of them here in kind of the order that they are ranked currently. Starting off with Burke Paul, who is ranked number 1 by 2 of the sources, and then he does have the number 2 slot by 1, but I think he is easily the best prospect in this class. 6'7", 216 pounds with a 6'10" wingspan out of Arkansas. This lefty has the most high-end comp you're going to see really 2K ever generate, and that his ceiling comparison is Michael Jordan. That's the type of ceiling comparison you only get when your potential is sky high, and that is the case here with Burke Paul. He is projected to start with 7 badges in his rookie year, and his grades are really good across the board. He has a projected A+ 3-point shot, B- in the inside and mid-range, A- on his perimeter defense, B on his playmaking, by far the best IQ in the class, A- on his physical tools, and the only A+ potential in this class. Here's a look at what his 7 badges are. They're not just 7 badges. They're 7 really good badges, including, Challenger's really good, Interceptor. Like, other than maybe Rebound Chaser, these are all very helpful badges to start out with. And going back here, there's that Michael Jordan Hall of Fame ceiling. No weaknesses to his game. It's a very special type of prospect here. And in my experience, when you have like the very, very high-end comps, you're usually talking like a potential at least 97, if not even higher, which means this guy has future face of the league potential. And that's why, despite the fact that he's only going to have the 3rd highest overall starting point that's projected currently, I think he's still the best prospect in the upcoming class. Coming in as the number 2 consensus prospect is Norm Adams. I gotta say, some of the shots that Norm Adams was making in this highlighted game against Arkansas, like this 3-pointer here, off the dribble, moving to his left, deep 3-point range. This is impressive stuff and is the type of shooting that you rarely see coming out of the draft. And that's not the only rare thing about prospect Norm Adams. 2K generated players will often have, of course, several badges on them to start, but very, very rare does a 2K generated prospect start with a badge above the bronze level, and Norm Adams starts with a silver badge. That may not seem like much, but it is really a rare thing to see among 2K generated prospects. He has that A+ 3-point shot, B+ inside, B mid-range, so the best all-around scorer of the perimeter players in this class. B+ perimeter defense, B+ playmaking, B IQ, A+ on the physicals front. He has a ceiling of Tony Parker All-NBA, so not quite that Hall of Fame ceiling, but I think he's fairly likely to reach that All-NBA potential. And as stated, a silver ankle assassin to start. That's like pretty easily going to promote up to Hall of Fame before too long. And a total of 6 badges, including another really solid set here. Ankle assassin, layup, mix master, lightning launch, and set shot specialist are all really good, as is unpluckable for a point guard. So really, really good prospects, and the consensus number 2 overall player in this class is even number 1 by NBA.com. You don't want to put a comparison like Steph on a guy, but geez, is this guy a great shooter. 6'4" with a 6'8" wingspan as well. Pretty good stuff from Norm Adams. Also, it's going to be a pretty rare draft class where a guy who is going to projected to start at 84 overall is only the third player you talk about, but that is the case here with Will Burke. Not only is he a starting overall of 84 projected, but he's also an absolute mammoth of a man. 7'3", 270 pounds, and a whopping 7'11" projected wingspan. This guy is massive. So how is a player like this not the number one overall pick in a class? And honestly, the reason is there's a little bit of a doubt as to how much he's going to improve once he makes it to the league. And that currently is what has him as the number 3. So he's by far the highest starting point of any of these prospects. But if you look here, his potential is only projected as a B+. Now, that's his base potential. He still does have a very good ceiling comparison. As you'll see here, he does actually have Hall of Fame ceiling. But, of course, that goes to the boom, bust, and regular potential of prospects. That means if you don't have him hit his boom ceiling, there's a chance he only improves like 3 or 4 overall in the league. And so you're kind of not exactly getting a finished product, but kind of you are. But he's so good off the bat that I don't know how much of a problem that is. So he starts with 6 badges. He does, unfortunately does not also start with a silver badge. That would be insane. But this top 3 is very, very good. I thought we had a pretty solid, maybe above average draft class to start this rebuild. I think this top 3 is absolutely insane and thus makes this a very strong draft class. I think Burke Paul is probably the number 1 player, probably kind of regardless of what kind of team you have. But then who you have at number 2 and number 3 probably just kind of depends on your roster, because Burke Paul, he's listed as a 2/3, but he can probably honestly play anywhere from like the 1 to the 4, kind of depending on what your team needs. I do think the 2/3 is where he fits best, but his skill set I think fits in a lot of different areas. Maybe not like a perfect fit for a 4 or a 1, but I think he can play those spots. Whereas Norm Adams is a point guard and pretty much a point guard only. Will Burke theoretically maybe could play power forward, but probably a center only kind of player at 7'3" and 270 pounds. So the position versatility and the Michael Jordan ceiling have Burke Paul number 1, and then 2 and 3 probably comes down to team fit. Also, a couple other prospects that I think are noteworthy to talk about. Frederick Rodman, I do actually have clips of him as well. Mostly just because I had to get a prospect to play against Will Burke, kind of cut in on his block first clip there. But a couple things to note with this player. I actually had to record 2 Duke versus Purdue games because the first one, my disk storage on my PC filled up, and so it stopped recording like in the second quarter, and I didn't notice it until the game had already finished, so I basically had to start all over. And he played pretty solidly in this game for sure, but he played much better in the first game. He got a couple of posters on Will Burke, gets a nice finish around him here. So he had a very tough matchup. Like, these college clips are very much so made for a guy like Will Burke, who has a high starting overall and is 7'3". He's pretty much supposed to dominate in these prospect clips, but Frederick Rodman, I think, gave him a pretty tough ride. Now, he is not nearly the player year 1, as he is a 76 to start and doesn't have anything above a B, but he has very good potential. He's starting with 2 badges, as you see here, but his potential is all NBA. So I think, if you're a center needy team and you don't get a high enough pick to land Will Burke, I think Frederick Rodman is a highly athletic, really good potential center. He's showed pretty much only interior game in the college watch, but at a C 3-pointer that can improve maybe even into the Bs as he progresses. He's not going to be a guy who can't shoot threes either. He's not going to be an interior only guy, so he does kind of fit the modern game. After that, in terms of potential, you have an A potential here with Carl Parks. Now, that said, he actually only has an all-star ceiling, but he's still a pretty good prospect. He's going to go pretty highly in this class. But again, just that all-star ceiling, but good shooter for sure, and a good enough defender that with C+ to start is not bad, as long as he can reach the upper ends of his ceiling. Another player I like, I think Paris Webb's going to be a pretty good player in this class. Also, only all-star ceiling on him, but I mean, talk about 3 and D, inside and perimeter defense, both B+, mid and 3-point at B. He's just not a great athlete at a C- physicals and only a B- potential. So more of an NBA ready guy, but wanted to shout out his skill set here. You have another guy that's interesting here in Jermaine Davidson, a combo big with all NBA Blake Griffin's ceiling. I don't know if he's as likely. I think that's more of a boom ceiling than his base potential, because his base potential is listed at C+. So if you draft him, you have a risk of him not getting much better at all. But he's like C+ across the board. If you can get him to his boom potential, he can pretty much turn into whatever kind of player you want him to be based off that. But you do have to get him to his boom potential. Otherwise, he might be sitting at, somebody that never gets higher than B's pretty much anywhere. Ike Lawal is a good shooter. Not a great defender yet. He has CJ McCollum's ceiling. So those are kind of the guys at the top of this class. I think the top 3 is very strong. And then the 4th guy is pretty easy, and Frederick Rodman after that. And then once you get there, it's kind of just depends on what your team needs. If you're looking for more upside or if you're looking for more NBA ready talent, there's a lot to go with. But you definitely, for sure, want at least a top 4 pick, and you'd love a top 3 pick for sure in this upcoming draft. And that's going to conclude our initial draft preview ahead of the Season 2 draft. Actually, a couple more things here before we move on. Number one, you most definitely noticed the fact that the camera angles were very different for these prospect clips. I've been experimenting some with some camera angles here for Season 2. Let me know what you thought of those camera angles. And while I did show the best clips, the roughly 30 seconds of the best clips of these prospect profiles, if you want to see all the good, the bad, and the ugly, the entire gameplay clips, consider becoming a member on the channel, as I will be posting full gameplay clips for these prospects in the near future for my channel members as a thank you for your support. Now, let's move on to the next section of the video. Now we move from talking about the top rookies from this upcoming class to talking about the top rookies from this most recent draft class, as we have a clash of the 2 best prospects from the Season 1 draft. Ken Nixon versus Steven Delk for the first time in their careers. We've got Venom versus Wizards. De'Aaron Fox takes a long look at 3 and drills it. And you might be wondering, De'Aaron Fox on the Wizards, how did that happen? Well, I did make my first manual CPU team trade of the series. I'll be talking about it more in the next episode, as we'll be going through the trade deadline in the next episode. So stay tuned for that, where I'll go into that trade in detail. But hint, it's a 3-team trade that obviously involved the Spurs and the Wizards. Nice block there by Jalen Williams on the drive. Ken Nixon got a little guard pick and roll action, and it results in a layup for Anthony Simons. Trey Johnson now in his 2nd season gets that free throw line extended jumper to hit. Anthony Simons in the mid-range himself answers back. A little over 4 minutes into this ballgame, we've got a tie so far, as Sar seeing a lot of that mid-range game from both sides here early. Nixon trying to drive in on Trey Johnson, getting stonewalled here. Forced to put up a crazy shot, and somehow it goes down for him. Nice look there from Nixon. Nice feed as well from Ryan Dunn, finding Jalen Williams for the slam. Johnson going through a double team here, swings it out to De'Aaron Fox. Missing, but cleaning up the glass is Steven Delk. There's our first look at the number 1 overall pick. Making a play for Washington as Trey Johnson drills it from the corner. Delk to Sar on the inside, and I think Washington's got a really fun young front court of top picks on the squad right now. Acrobatic look from Ken Nixon going right at the #1 overall pick. Couldn't get it to go, but does get fouled. As you can see, our rookie's averaging 22 points per game so far as a rookie, which is really impressive. Johnson, hop step with the left, gets through the Ken Nixon foul. Trey Johnson's shown some nice scoring ability for the Washington Wizards here in the first quarter. Nixon going against Johnson is pickpocketed by the second-year player. Almost a crazy alley-oop by Washington. Instead, now it's the Venom taking it in transition. Delk wants a review, but I think he definitely got Reynaud there. Johnson drills another three. He has been lights out for Washington to begin this game. A lot of their scoring coming courtesy of Trey Johnson as De'Aaron Fox finds slow-mo Kyle Anderson in transition there. Pick and roll, Reynaud and Kobe Buffkin. Works to perfection. Reynaud a couple of nice inside looks already. Under a minute and a half left in the first half, and that's just a bad pass from Nixon. Gets back on defense, though, and forces the miss, making up for the turnover. Another Reynaud slam on the inside. He had a much smaller De'Aaron Fox on him, so that was pretty easy. Another hop step for Trey Johnson, who continues his scoring in the first quarter. He has double digits easily in the first quarter. Step back to end the quarter for De'Aaron Fox will not fall, so Washington will take a 7-point lead into the second quarter here. Cam Whitmore, I honestly forgot he was on the Wizards, but he drills one from deep to start the quarter. Looking to respond is Simons, and he does from the wing. Simons inside to Reynaud, who continues to show a nice touch there on the inside to start this game. That was just way too easy of a look for Cam Whitmore, who ends it off with a slam, and the pick and roll for Bilal Coulibaly. Not even starting for this Wizards team, which is kind of odd, but have a player of his caliber coming off the bench has to be a good look for the Wizards. It's kind of one of the reasons that I made the trade here for Washington to get De'Aaron Fox. I just felt like Washington, especially after the Steven Delk selection, has a chance to really start to make some noise in the East. They just kind of needed a veteran to lead all their young guys, and they were really missing a point guard. So they make the trade for De'Aaron Fox, and right now, looking pretty good. Fox to Delk, but it's blocked away by Ryan Dunn. Great defensive effort from him. Now it's Jarris Walker who gets it to go. Our newest starter after the trading away of Michael Porter Jr. in the last episode. And one for Steven Delk there. Jalen Williams got him. Simons. Tough drive to the basket. He pulls up for a floater and hits it, making it a 10-point game now. That's just a lazy pass from Ryan Dunn, and Delk gets the steal and the score. Sarr, good look from deep, and it is right down the barrel for a triple for the big man, and that's a nice pick and roll look. Simons to Williams. The Venoms trail now 54-39 here with a few minutes left in the second quarter. Step back three, tough look for Fox. He is now on fire. The first quarter was really the quarter of Trey Johnson. Here in the second, it's been De'Aaron Fox making things happen for the Wizards. This young backcourt, well, young for Trey Johnson, not really for De'Aaron Fox. But this backcourt for Washington doing a lot of work for them in the first half. Nicely done by Jarris Walker to get by his man for the two-handed slam. Now Jarris will take the final shot of the second. Not a great look that we could create there, but 59-41 heading into the break. Our best scorers were Simons and Reynaud, just 2 of 7 for Nixon in this half. Not ideal. In terms of Washington, it was really, like I said, Trey Johnson doing things in the first, then De'Aaron Fox carrying things in the second. Both those players end up with 16 heading into the break. Into the third now, clearing things out for De'Aaron Fox against Anthony Simons. And what I'm seeing from Simons defensively really has me concerned, but that's not really where he makes his money for us on this team. He makes it being a lead scorer like he did on that layup previously. Getting by Delk momentarily was Williams, but Delk with a nice recovery swats that layup attempt out of bounds. Basically right out of his hands. It was already headed towards the baseline, but a nice cut from Ken Nixon. Has the Venom scoring anyway. Walker inside, and that's a tough matchup against Sarr on the inside, giving away quite a bit of height there, but Walker has the highest athleticism score on the team and showing it off there. From the baseline, Simons drills a mid-range jumper. 17 points is the difference now, and Jalen Williams gets revenge, blocking Steven Delk. Turnaround from Sarr doesn't go, but cutting in for the putback slam. Steven Delk got to box him out. Pick and pop. Jalen Williams smooth from beyond the arc. I like this pick and pop action we're seeing, this two-man game from Nixon and Williams. Usually ends up in a pretty decent shot for the Venom when we run it. Hawkins. He is coming back from a little bit of an injury here. And he gets it into Reynaud, but it's blocked away by Delk. Nixon's going to have to come up with something. Instead, he swings it to Hawkins. No good, but Reynaud cleans up the glass. Third time is the charm for the Venom on that possession. Bufkin drills it from deep, but we're letting too many cutters loose for Washington here in the third. Blocked on the layup attempt by Nixon. And Reynaud gets another interior basket. I mean, his touch around the rim has been pretty reliable for the Venom when he's gotten the chance here now in his second season. 2.5 minutes remain in the third, and that three ball makes it a 19-point Washington lead. I'll tell you, the Wizards are looking pretty good. Their record hasn't been great to start the year. I think it was 12-19 heading into this game, but they just barely made the De'Aaron Fox trade. And I think this is definitely, from what I've seen in this game, going to look like a team that's going to make a playoff push for the rest of the season in the East. I mean, this is the kind of team that 2K usually likes. They don't quite have the star yet. A lot of their players are kind of mid-80s or below, but they have a lot of depth, which 2K always loves. A lot of their bench players are high 70s, maybe even some low 80s off the bench. And they've looked really good against us in this game. Now, the Venom, we're not exactly staunch competition at this point of our rebuild either, so Washington should be the team like us, especially since the De'Aaron Fox trade. But we head now into the fourth, and Ken Nixon gets it going from the mid-range to start the quarter. But bad defense on the other end, and Edwards gets the easy basket. The pick and roll works. This time Nixon and Reynaud. Strother and Walker now running in, and we get a two-handed flush from Walker. He's shown some nice stuff on the inside. Hasn't actually really done much shooting the ball, but Walker has done nice on the inside in this game. Spinning layup from Cam Whitmore makes it 90-74. Fox gets around Bufkin on the inside for a layup. Here's Walker, finds Strother inside for two. We don't really see that much from either Strother or Hawkins in this game, but Strother makes it with his first basket there. Inside, blocked away by Jarris Walker, continuing to shut off that athleticism inside. There he falls for the pump fake, though, on the Kaishan George. Layup, he gets the and one. Spinning is Simons, attacking downhill on Fox. Strong take inside. Gets the Venom up to 80 points. We're halfway through the fourth now, and a block by Jarris Walker again. I'll tell you what, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Jarris Walker in his first spotlight start since trading away Michael Porter Jr. 100 to 82. Spinning is Matherin. He gets by Ryan Dunn and gets the two-handed flush. A 20-point lead with under 5 minutes remaining. I think it's about time to call this game quits, as the Wizards will come away with a 113 to 86 victory. Not a lot of points for us here. Nixon struggled to score, but 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He contributed in other ways in this game. Jarris Walker, like I said, I think he showed me some stuff that I really like here in his first spotlight start for this game. Ultimately, I think you probably have to give the win to Steven Delk with 15 and 15, 4, 2, and 5 blocks. But I think neither rookie was maybe at his best for this game. That's going to bring us here to the end of January. The Las Vegas Venom stand at 14 and 37, while the Reign are 9 and 39 at the end of the month here. So where does that stand among the rest of the league? Well, the Venom have now officially surpassed the Jazz. They're a game, I guess, ahead of them for the worst team in the conference, although standing-wise we're a half game behind them now. Same number of wins, but we have one more loss. And in the East, the Reign have a pretty big league over the East and really the entire league right now for having the number one odds in the lottery. Then there's kind of the cluster of Vegas, Utah, Phoenix, Brooklyn, Charlotte, and Philly that are in play for the 2 spot down to like the 6 or 7 spot. So pretty clustered there. And we're hoping that the Venom can continue to suck and maybe have both of these expansion teams have the number 1 and number 2 lottery odds. That would be pretty cool. But I think the Reign have pretty much locked in that number 1 spot. Next episode, we will be passing through the trade deadline. In terms of what I'm thinking for the Venom, I'm not sure what we'll do. Ryan Dunn is pretty mad right now, but he's also injured, so I think he'll be fine once he's back. Hawkins is a little bit mad. Jeremy Grant, but I don't care. He doesn't play. Both of our centers don't like being here, so I don't know what to do with that because we don't have alternatives. Jordan, the mentors, I don't really care, but the guys that don't really like being here, I'm not really looking to move on from. It was really only Michael Porter Jr., and we already made that trade earlier on in the season. However, I will be putting out a Google form asking what you would like to do with the Kansas City Reign, and they have quite a few people that are not super happy, including Jalen Duren, who's currently down 5 overall. Now, he was that way during a stretch of last season as well, and he ended up coming back up by the end of it. Corey Kispert's not happy. Max Christie's not happy. Ryan Rollins isn't happy. Batum isn't happy, but who cares? So I will send out a Google form, like I said, asking on a few of these veterans and these people that are mad on whether or not you'd like to trade them. But that is the end of the episode. We will be going through... with this team being so bad, I can't see there being more than 2 episodes. There might even just be 1. Again, we might go through the end of the season pretty quickly, like we did last year. When the teams are this bad, you don't want to spend too much time on them. We haven't even watched the full 4th quarter in the last couple of episodes because our team is that bad. So we'll see how it goes. But Season 2 will continue in the next episode, which will be coming out soon, and I will see you then. Fangs out.